Welcome back to Advanced Analytical English C1C2, the podcast for professionals and scholars looking to navigate complex discussions with precision and nuance. I'm Laura.
And I'm Thomas. Today, we're examining a topic that seems simple at first glance, asking for directions when you're lost and looking at it through an analytical lens.
It's fascinating because, on the surface, asking for directions is basic survival functional English. But at an advanced professional or social level, being lost isn't just about spatial orientation. It's about how we communicate under uncertainty, manage status, and seek clarity without appearing incompetent.
Exactly. There's a subtle distinction between merely asking, "Where am I?" and strategically reorienting yourself while maintaining authority and rapport. That raises a broader question. How do we articulate our need for assistance in a way that is clear, efficient, and socially adept?
To put that into perspective, consider the psychological barrier. Many professionals hesitate to admit they are lost, whether geographically in a foreign city or metaphorically in a high-stakes project, because they equate seeking direction with a lack of competence.
That argument rests on the assumption that independence is always superior to collaboration. But in reality, struggling in isolation is far less efficient than making a targeted inquiry. The difficulty lies in framing the request so that it signals competence rather than helplessness.
Precisely. In everyday spatial terms, if you approach a local and say, "I'm completely lost, I have no idea where I am," you project disorientation. But if you reframe it, "I'm trying to locate the tribunal building. I was heading east along the avenue, but the street layout seems to have shifted," you demonstrate situational awareness.
You've established a baseline. You're not asking someone to solve your entire problem. You're asking them to help you calibrate your existing map. That brings us to an important caveat. Asking for directions effectively requires active listening and immediate verification, rather than passive reception.
Let's examine a realistic case. Imagine an executive, let's call her Elena, attending an international conference in an unfamiliar facility. She has 10 minutes before her panel starts. She could wander aimlessly, or she could ask a venue coordinator.
If Elena approaches the coordinator and says, "Could you point me toward Auditorium B? I've followed the signage for the North Wing, but I seem to have hit a dead end." She does three things simultaneously. She states her destination, shows she has made a logical effort, and identifies the exact point of friction.
That's a crucial distinction, separating a total breakdown of navigation from a specific point of friction. It transforms a vague plea for help into a precise, collaborative problem-solving moment.
There is a compelling case for using what linguists call hedging and diplomatic positioning here. Notice how Elena didn't say, "Your signs are wrong." She said, "I seem to have hit a dead end." That subtle shift prevents the listener from becoming defensive while still getting the necessary clarification.
Let's focus on some of the language and expressions we've used so far that elevate this kind of interaction. First, we have the phrase "to reorient oneself." Thomas, how does that differ from simply finding one's way?
Finding your way is broad and physical. Reorienting oneself implies a cognitive reset. It suggests you understand the broader context, but need to adjust your current trajectory relative to a specific reference point.
Another powerful collocation is situational awareness. In a navigational context, this means knowing where you are, what's around you, and where you're heading. In communication, it means showing the listener that you understand the environment before demanding their time.
We also use the expression "point of friction." Instead of saying, "I have a problem," identifying the point of friction highlights the specific obstacle preventing progress. It's analytical, objective, and actionable.
Consider also the phrase "to calibrate one's expectations" or "calibrate one's position." Calibration implies minor adjustments for precision, rather than starting from scratch. It signals to the other person that you are 90% there and just need that final 10% of information.
Looking at deeper implications, the way we ask for directions reflects cultural norms regarding autonomy, hierarchy, and public interaction. In some cultures, asking for help directly is seen as an imposition. In others, relying on digital tools instead of human interaction is seen as detached or antisocial.
That introduces a trade-off between technological self-reliance and human engagement. Relying entirely on a smartphone GPS might save you from speaking to a stranger, but it deprives you of local insight, the nuance of, don't take that footbridge after dark, or, the main entrance is closed for renovation.
Indeed, over-reliance on automated systems can atrophy our innate spatial cognition and our interpersonal communication skills. The evidence is far from conclusive on whether digital navigation makes us more efficient overall, or simply more vulnerable when technology fails.
Let me challenge that assumption slightly. Isn't using technology simply a more efficient filter, allowing us to reserve human interaction for more meaningful exchanges than just asking for street names?
To some extent, that is true. However, the ability to formulate a clear, polite, and precise query under pressure is a foundational communication skill. If you cannot ask for physical directions effectively, you may struggle when you need to ask for directional clarity in a complex business strategy or an academic research framework.
That is a fair point. Now, let's transition into our advanced speaking practice. We've prepared 7 prompts designed to help you practice framing inquiries, setting context, and managing directional clarity with precision.
For each prompt, Laura will state the scenario, and then I'll provide a strong model response using the advanced expressions we've discussed.
Prompt 1. You are in an unfamiliar city, looking for a specific train station entrance. Ask a local passerby for help while establishing that you already know the general area.
Excuse me, I'm trying to locate the underground entrance for the Central Line. I know it's in the immediate vicinity of the plaza, but I seem to have lost my orientation. Could you point me in the right direction?
Excellent. Notice how Thomas established his general knowledge before asking for the specific point of entry. Prompt 2. You are inside a large corporate headquarters and cannot find a meeting room. Ask a receptionist for guidance diplomatically.
Good morning. I have a meeting in room 402. I was directed to the 4th floor west wing, but the room numbers seem to skip that sequence. Could you clarify where that section branches off?
That model pinpoints the exact point of friction without blaming the building layout. Prompt 3. Ask someone for alternative route recommendations because your primary path is blocked.
Pardon me. It appears the pedestrian bridge ahead is closed for maintenance. Is there an alternative footpath nearby that leads across the river without taking a major detour?
Prompt 4. Reframe a situation where you received confusing directions from someone else and you need a second opinion without sounding disrespectful to the first person.
Excuse me, I was advised earlier to head north along the avenue, but the landmark I was told to look for doesn't seem to be visible. To ensure I'm on the right track, am I heading toward the financial district?
Prompt 5. Practice verifying complex directions you've just received by summarizing them back to the speaker.
Just to ensure I've understood correctly, I take the second exit at the roundabout, proceed past the library, and the entrance will be on my immediate left just after the intersection? Is that accurate?
Verifying through paraphrasing is vital for preventing misunderstandings. Prompt 6. Ask a professional colleague for directional clarity on a project where the goals seem ambiguous.
I want to ensure our deliverables align with the client's expectations. We've established the core scope, but the timeline for Phase 2 remains somewhat ambiguous. Could we clarify the strategic direction before proceeding?
And Prompt 7. Qualify a request for help by indicating that you only need a quick confirmation, respecting the other person's time.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but could you give me a quick confirmation? Is this the platform for the express service to the airport, or does this line make local stops?
These model responses demonstrate how advanced speakers combine courtesy with high specificity.
Moving on to practical application. How can listeners apply these structures across different professional domains? In a business presentation or workshop, if a discussion strays off course, you can use these exact navigation frameworks to bring it back.
For instance, saying, "Before we move to the next item, I'd like to reorient our focus toward the primary objective," or, "We seem to have hit a point of friction regarding budget allocation. Let's clarify our options."
In academic writing or viva defenses, when addressing a complex theoretical framework, you might state, "At first glance, this methodology may seem tangential, but on closer examination, it directly addresses our core thesis."
Even in everyday negotiations, stating, "I see where you're coming from, but there is an important caveat we should not overlook," allows you to steer the conversation without causing friction.
To synthesize our discussion today, being lost, whether geographically or conceptual, is not a failure of intelligence. It is a temporary deficit of information.
What matters is the sophistication of your recovery strategy. By establishing your current baseline, identifying the precise point of friction, and asking targeted questions, you transform a moment of disorientation into a display of structured problem solving.
We must distinguish between helpless wandering and deliberate calibration. The former abdicates control, the latter asserts it.
As a final reflective question for this episode, the next time you find yourself unsure of your footing in a physical space, a conversation, or a professional venture, what reference points will you use to articulate your position clearly before asking for guidance?
Mastering these nuances takes consistent practice, but it pays immediate dividends in your clarity and confidence as an advanced communicator.
Thank you for joining us on Advanced Analytical English C1, C2. Keep observing the subtle distinctions in the language around you and continue refining your speech.
Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.